Boom. Okay, we're recording. So, welcome everybody. Thanks for coming out. Talking about the bulletin today. That's 2302 on Glints. It is in the event description here. If you just click on one event, you can pull it up. And I imagine most of you have probably had a read through. And so, goal of today is to hear any feedback from you guys, answer questions, and then determine the next step for the bulletin. So just really quick overview of what's going on is in the Parallel Glints post, they pledged that 20% of all non-prime spent on Glints will accrue to Echelon. So that means that when Prime is spent, 100% of it goes to the sync schedule. So that's just a regular Prime sync. But when people are spending credit cards or ETH on Glints, then 20% of that goes to Echelon. So what we have tentatively proposed here is that 50% will be used to acquire Prime and then distribute it to the sync schedule, and the remainder will accrue to Echelon, where it can be used for operations and community initiatives, expenses, and so on. And that's basically it. That's the premise of the bulletin. Pretty straightforward. And yeah, I don't know if any of the other EPs had an additional comment here before we start letting people up, but feel free to start raising your hands and
Yeah, I'll
ahead.
comment. Yeah, I guess I would just say, I think Gamble and I discussed this in the chat, and I think it's a pretty good idea. Something that we can do as part of the community feedback from this proposal is bake in some kind of a trigger to reevaluate the split. So, you know, my cards on the table, I feel pretty strongly that a 50-50 split initially makes a lot of sense because Echelon has expenses and we want to minimize the rate at which the foundation would need to sell Prime in order to meet those expenses. This coming back to the foundation in the form of cash is kind of like very nice for us from that sense. um However, there is a sort of like revenue number in Glints where I think it makes sense to potentially just hard code in, so to speak, a number, call it 50 million or something like that, where if Parallel does $50 million in revenue from Glints within a 12-month running period, then that would automatically trigger a reevaluation of, hey, does like the 50-50 split make sense? But at least to start with, until we kind of like know how many people are going to play the game, what the volume is, what kind of revenue there is, I think taking a more conservative approach makes sense. But I just wanted to call out that that was something that Gamble had flagged and him and I had chatted, and I think that is also kind of a good idea to maybe think about what a sort of trigger point we could put into the bulletin would be, such that it would, if and when we hit that, it automatically, causes us to reevaluate the split and see if the 50-50 still makes sense.
I'll just add that I fully agree with this. I think we could maybe even do more than one trigger, just based on different criteria. But I wouldn't rush to put it in right now. It's something that we can start putting in maybe after beta or shortly after launch, when we have some data of just like how far we're reaching with the audience and stuff. Because like you said, if we're talking 12 months anyways, then delaying putting a number down until post launch doesn't really affect us in any way. So just makes it a little bit more informed of a decision.
Yeah, I love the flexibility that gives us by getting into 50-50. Nothing else to add. Really aligned here with this kind of first outline here.
So this is the point where Y'all are welcome to ask questions or share comments. You don't have to come up on stage. You're absolutely welcome to, but you can also just type in the chat bar on the side here. We have this tentatively scheduled for up to an hour, but it could also be over in 10 minutes, depending on how much activity we get in the chat here. So yeah, the floor is yours at this point. I do see Jake is typing. I think too, another thing, just while we're waiting here to fill the air, is there were some questions as well on the how this would happen, and that is another kind of moving piece at the moment. We just want to establish what first, and once we've nailed that down, I think there are a variety of ways to get creative in terms of how the prime flows are actually happening in reality. We actually have had some interesting conversations about the potential there, and yeah, I just wanted to clarify that's kind of a topic for a future discussion, but it is something that we're thinking about. So Jake says, maybe instead of dollar number to reassess, we say something like X months. Reassess seems like a good thing, however it's implemented. Bu, do you want to respond to that since you were the one who brought up the threshold?
Yeah, I mean, we could have it just every 12 months, reassess to see if the split makes sense. That's something that would be pretty easy to bake in and not contingent upon tracking glint revenue. So yeah, that's like, I'm not opposed to that. The thought with the price trigger is that it could trigger a, like, let's say you do it every 12 months. Okay, first 12 months goes by, and let's say revenue is kind of like, it's okay. It's not great. It's not bad. We do the reevaluation. We opt not to reevaluate something. Another 12 months go by. We reevaluate again, and in that 12 months, let's say Parallel is just absolutely caught fire. People are spending a ton of money. It is, rivaling Hearthstone or whatever. I guess like the only thing to call out there is that we probably would have known that prior. And if you do a 12-month kind of like rolling basis on the amount of actual dollar throughput, maybe you trigger a reevaluation sooner. But I guess that's also not to say that the EPs couldn't just be like, hey, we're noticing a lot more revenue coming in and the operational part of the treasury piling up. We can opt to reevaluate it. I would say ultimately I don't have a strong opinion either way about whether it's kind of through, dollars spent on glints based or time based. But I think it's more just, having some mechanism that forces a reevaluation seems really nice.
Yeah, I agree. We should definitely have the reassess. But for what it's worth, my intuition tells me that we'll probably put forward a reassess based on what we see long before that trigger's ever hit anyways. Just because, there's no reason for us to not try to be, accurate and consistent. But regardless, this is all months and months and months away anyways. So who knows?
Yeah, I think to Brand's question, Seth already answered a bit, but in terms of where the prime will be acquired, I think, again, that relates to the how portion of the execution. Like I said, that is still we're still in the process of determining exactly how that works, and again, because this is a few months out and the landscape changes quickly, there could be new and interesting ways to think about that. But again, that's a little bit outside the scope of this conversation because it's just talking about the specifics of the split. So yeah, I guess from who we have, and again, reminder, anybody feel free to hop up or ask another question, but does it make sense before voting on this bulletin to you guys up here that we, or on the version of the bulletin that we vote on, that we would put in a reassessment period of some sort, like just instantiate that so we have it, or what do you guys think? What's your take on that in terms of how we actually write that into the bulletin?
Maybe we shouldn't, evaluate it on a date basis until like we hit like a target like money mark of some sort, and then reoccurring. I don't know. I'm not like I have no preference to which way we do it either, as Bu said.
Yeah, then I guess potentially just in the spirit of flexibility, we could just leave it open. I mean, at the end of the day, too, there's always the opportunity for community proposals to come in and suggest a split. I mean, we've been seeing that happening. The vote actually for the shielded voting proposal actually closes tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern, so just a reminder there. But we have seen how that process works as well. So maybe instead of instantiating anything in this specific bulletin, we do leave it open-ended, knowing that we plan on reassessing in the future, but given that the dates in terms of when glints come online and when we actually start to see significant throughput there are still open-ended, maybe we do leave it open-ended on the bulletin as well. But yeah, just knowing that it can be revisited at any time, either brought up by EPs or brought to the table from a community proposal. How does that feel, audience and or EPs?
That feels good. I like that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Works for me.
Okay. I see a thumbs up
Last
from
call
Jake.
for people to come up, I guess.
Yep.
Okay. Well, thank you guys for attending. This was a pleasant.
I see.
We have
I see
someone?
some people typing. Let's.
Oh.
We hit the going once.
Thank you.
Oh, it was a thank you. Okay, so unless Dave is thanking us, or we'll see. Would there need to be more assessments? I think absolutely. Yeah. I think it's inevitable at some point that this would get reassessed in the same way that really everything in the Echelon ecosystem is somewhat malleable, just given the novelty of the
I think
ecosystem
Dave
we're in.
just missed the beginning of this. I think he's just asking the question that we already answered,
Oh, okay.
which is yes, it will
Oh, you
be
did miss the beginning. Yep.
reassessed.
Yeah, just to recap, we did say we do plan on assessing. We don't intend to instantiate a specific assessment period for the purposes of this bulletin, but it was just a reminder that there always is the community governance process in the event that a community member wanted to bring forward that proposal. And additionally, once we do have the throughput actually happening with the prime sync and glints, it's something we're definitely going to look at again. So assessment is all but guaranteed, or reassessment, I should say, but just no hard date on it at the moment.
I think Warwick hit the nail on the head, and as a community member, it's good to see him say this. That yeah, it's not something we need to pretend we're going to nail perfectly right now, and we have 100% foresight. So this will be reassessed once we can make a more educated and informed decision based on some data. So thank you, Work. Ardent this week. Say look forward to it, but we won't put a hard, firm date on it. Is that right, guys?
Yeah, no. What we can say is there you'll see more announcements come from us in the coming weeks about Ardent Prime, but nothing beyond that. And the list, as of last night at midnight Eastern, we closed the period in terms of for when people can link wallets. So we have a finalized version now of all the different entities and who has which wallets and which ones are connected. So now we're just going to get to work on pumping that list out. So eyes peeled for that. Okay. Yeah, if there's nothing else, I think we'll just call it here, and you guys can expect the final version of this bulletin to be put to an emissary vote likely later on this week, and we will throw that into the emissary votes channel over on the resources category there on the left. And I guess that's it. Thanks everybody for coming.
Thanks all. Appreciate it.
See ya. Thanks for showing up.
Bye.